Hi, hello, welcome. In this part, we will speak about organic matter, especially animal manure that can be used in the soil to manage, to improve the soil fertility. Now, already you know that there are different ways and agriculture practices how we keep and improve the soil fertility. Now I am concentrated here to the organic matter and to nutrients. Crop residues, for example, are important in the soil. They are mainly residues from the crops, from the plants that remain in the soil after the farmers harvest their crops. Even in the cases they move a part of the residues, one important source of residues is or are root systems that remain in underground from the previous crops. We can add organic matter and nutrients in the soil through using compost, different conditioners, and animal manure. Uh, so we understand that having organic manure, especially within the farm, is important. That's why we um, favorize or advise that especially small farms to have animals in the farm, not only for other uses they have the animals, but even for the manure that the animals produce and the farmers can use in their Let's have a look in this interesting image. Here you have presented in a very schematic way the benefits and how to say a kind of summary of the benefits of use of manure or residues or compost or other organic fertilizer in the soil. So adding organic matter in the soil, as in this case, we would have an increased biological activity and a higher diversity in the soil. This, from its side, contributes to a healthy soil because we have a reduced soil-borne diseases and parasitic nematodes. And the soil health means healthy plants and less expenses from outside with other inputs to control or to manage especially soil-borne diseases and nematodes. Increased biological activity and diversity in soil because of the organic matter means that we have higher activity of microorganisms in the soil, which break down the organic matter and happens the decomposition process of the organic matter. Because of this process, the organic matter offers different benefits in the soil. For example, one benefit is we have less harmful substances in the soil because we have a kind of process of detoxification. During the composition of the organic matter, we have release of nutrients which then goes to plants and feed the plants, and that's why we have healthy plants. Again, another benefit is that during decomposition, except the nutrients that are in available form, we have creation of humus and other growth promoting substances which contribute from their side to healthy plants. And humus and especially improve the, the, the the characteristics of the soil, like improved tilth and water storage. So we have an increase of water storage capacity because from the other side, organic matter, humus, contributes to creation of a porous structure of the soil. We have a better structure in the soil, and this from the other side influence to the improved tilth and water storage, which from the other side again contributes to healthy plants. So this is a summary of most important impacts of the organic matter in the soil. And in this point of view, we understand that organic matter, good management of plant residues and biological residues is important, not only for nutrients, but for other benefits in the soil. And that's why having animals or having animal manure in the farm is very important. So animals, especially in the small farms, are um, how to say, create good impacts, not only because they produce products which are used by the farmer's family, but even for their manure, which is very important, as you see, for the soil fertility. This is just a photo to show and to mention that how important there is to have animals in the farm. Chickens, again, can be a good resource for animal manure in the farm. However, they have the manure that is coming, for example, from pigs, cow, horses, sheep, or chickens has different qualities and different characteristics. It is good. It is better to know them, specific characteristics of them. Different types of residues have varying effects on soils. In this case, I have presented here two examples, two different residues, two different sources of organic matter. The first one is the green residues that are coming after cover crop use in the soil. And the other one is from compost. This means that plant residues has passed through the composting process. When we add green residues from cover crops in the soil, they leave in the soil sugars, cellulose, proteins, polyphenols, and lignin. When we use compost, we add in the soil hemicellulose, polyphenols, lignin, and humus. The thicker lines, green and black, indicate more material, and the dashed lines indicate a very small percentage of these substances that are added in the soil through use of cover crop of compost. So speaking still about this, for example, we understand that when we use cover crop, we add in the soil sugars and cellulose more, less polyphenols, and still less lignin. And when we add compost, we add in the soil humus that was not added through cover crop. For sure, we have production of humus after decomposition of cover crop, but in the moment that we use the cover crop or put in the soil the green residues, we don't have humus. In fact, during the composting process, we have decomposition of organic matter and production throughout of the humus. So adding compost, we have to be cautious that we had humus, that from the other side, humus is very important for the soil structure. And then linked to this, to the microorganism activity, to soil structure, and water penetration, water retention, and so on. And the other one, the second, the important that enter or introduce in the important quantity is lignin. And then less, as you see, polyphenols and hemicellulose. In this table, you have figures, numbers about 4 types of animal manures. You have from dairy cow, beef cow, chicken, and pigs. Compared for their nutrients and characteristics, we see that they differ from each other from, for example, solid and liquid percentage in their content. So chicken has higher content of solid part or dry matter. Let's have a look on the nutrient content. For example, about nitrogen. Speaking about nitrogen content in the different animal manures, we can say that the nitrogen content, for example, for each ton of manure is, in the case of dairy cow, is about 5 kilograms per ton. So more or less, one kilogram has 2.2 pounds. So we have to divide these numbers with 2.2. So we have approximately 5 kilograms of nitrogen, 7 kilograms of nitrogen in the case of beef cow, about 12 in the chicken manure, and about again 5 in the case of animal manure coming from pigs. What about phosphates? Uh, Here you have the quantities. Again, here we have in pounds per ton, and we can calculate in kilograms per ton. So here it's about 3 kilograms of phosphate, about 4 kilograms, about 12, and about 3 again. About potassium, you see again the values of potassium here for different animal manures presented. And calculating the approximate amount of solid and liquid manure to supply 100 pounds of nitrogen for a species of animal. You have the quantities here. Remember that the quantities you have to divide with 2.2 in order to convert them in kilograms. The table presented here shows data collected from an experiment done early in time that considers different quantities of manure in the soil and some important characteristics of the soil and how they have changed based on different quantities of manure used in the soil. From the data here, we see an interesting thing, that the soil itself was rich in organic matter. And I mean, there are not a lot of soils that have this high quantity of organic matter, and this means that it is a fertile soil. So the original level of organic matter was 5.2. This was the alternative where there was not any use of manure, And you see that the percentage of the soil organic matter in the soil after 11 years of experiment was decreased. And here are other concentrations. You see that when we use 30 tons of manure per acre, that is about 4,000 square meters, the quantity or the percentage of organic matter is increased from 5.2 to 5.5. However, you know that the organic matter is increased, can be increased slowly in the soil. So it cannot be increased from one year to another. The other characteristic or soil property was measured was cation exchange capacity, which is in micro equivalents in 100 grams. It was 19.8 in the beginning, and then you see how it is changed. pH, it was acidic pH, near neutral. In the case we don't use organic matter or manure, the pH is decreased, so it is becoming acidic. And then here we have constant in the last when we use 30 tons. What about phosphorus? These are the concentration, and you see how much phosphorus and potassium is in the soil when we use huge quantities of manure. So the levels with 20 and 30 tons of manure applied annually are much higher than the crop needs. About total pore space that is linked to the structure, the soil structures, here it was not determined, and here we see that in the case when we use a huge quantity, about 30 tons of manure, the total pore space is higher. This means the structure is higher. It is the highest one here. However, these two doses, 20 and 30, are very near to each other for their effect to the pore space.